Welcome to Nourish with Kristin, your weekly chat with certified nutrition therapist and lifelong foodie Kristin Whitaker, coming to you from Utah Natural Wellness with a reminder that your food should serve you. So, let's dish! Guys, welcome back to Utah Natural Wellness. This is Nourish with Kristin, my weekly chat about all things health, and it's good to see you again. So I'm Kristin Whitaker, a certified nutrition therapist, and I'm passionate about clean eating and helping you succeed with your goals. Last week, we actually kicked 2020 off with a discussion on how to set healthy goals that stick past January. Well, one common healthy goal I see is for people to stop eating this or stop eating that, or they make this really virtuous, clean, healthy plan for themselves. I'm only eating green vegetables. No, but, and they have a hard time sticking it. Inevitably, they binge or fall off the wagon, right? And we all do this. It took me years to admit that I'm a binge eater. Definitely. I never labeled it that before, but my biggest enemy in all of my health endeavors and goals has always been myself. And I know better. I've studied this intensely. I know what the right diet is for me. I know how to cook everything from scratch to get there. I know how to get the right food. And inevitably, I'd still find my face in a bag of chips or something that I know is awful and doesn't make me feel good. So the big question for me is always why? Why do I do this to myself? I know better. If you've had an experience like this, let me know. I know it's not just me, but I think sometimes it's hard to admit. So I've tried all the tricks, all of them, you name it. I mean, see if you have one, I haven't. I've done the closet clean out, I've done portion control, I've scheduled cheat days, I've used Jedi mind tricks. I can break down a food label and tell you exactly what's going to give me cancer or, blow up my skin or whatever. I can do all these things, but inevitably I still would go back to these foods I know are hurting me. So I've dived into the mystery of my behavior, like I'm sure most of you have. And I'm sure lots of us have spent thousands on therapy even to figure out the behavior behind why we do this, why we sabotage ourselves and go off plan, or why we can't get ourselves back on plan, right? And I mean, for me, I know that I have triggers and moods that almost always set me up to fail. I eat when I feel out of control because food is something I can control. I eat when I feel poor, I'll eat something rich, right? When the finances are weighing me down, I go get something that makes me feel like $1 million, right? I eat when I'm sad. I eat when I'm mad. And I eat when I celebrate. So pretty much there's always a reason for me to eat, right? So even unraveling my behavior wasn't very helpful. In fact, sometimes it just justified, well, I eat when I'm sad. And I'm so sad now, so I need to eat. It would just reinforce that for me. I mean, that there's value in knowing why you do that, but for me, it just reinforced the behavior even more. So I remember one particularly sad night. So I had the kids in bed, the house is quiet, my husband's asleep, and I would stay up late working at nights. And it was probably 3 a.m, and I was just feeling a little overwhelmed and a little small. And so I got in the minivan and I manually opened the garage so it was quiet, and I drove myself to McDonald's. And it wasn't even a little thing. I got a double quarter pounder with cheese and the largest fries and a dessert to go with it and a soda. And I parked in the parking lot, 3 a.m. in a dark parking lot, eating this food by myself and just feeling horrible. And on this particular night, my husband actually noticed I was gone. So he might think this is a singular event if he ever watches these. This was the first time you caught me. And he called. He'd gotten up to use the bathroom and noticed I wasn't there and called to see where I was. And I confessed. I said, honey, I am sitting in the McDonald's parking lot pigging out by myself. And here I was, like this self-professed food enthusiast, this green smoothie person, this made from scratch, whole grain, everything, homesteading mom, right? And there I was binging on McDonald's in the middle of the night. And he said, I'll never forget, he said, that is the saddest thing I've ever heard. And it wasn't a deriding, shaming sad. It wasn't like, oh, you were so sad. It was like he truly knew this isn't what I wanted for myself, and he was sad with me. He said, this is the saddest thing I've ever heard, and you should come home. So I did, and it was sad. and it made me think, why do I do this? I know better. And of course in the morning I felt horrible. The food doesn't settle well. It's against everything I stand for. I felt compromised. I don't know why I did this. This is binge eating to me. This envelops all the crappy, awful, self-loathing feelings when we know what we want and we do something opposite. That's binge eating to me. So there's complex reasons why people do this. It'll be different for all of you. There's compulsions and cravings and triggers. We use it as rewards and we use it as punishments. And there's just, I found methods that will help me temporarily, but in the long run, all of them failed. And then I found a book that changed everything for me. Never Binge Again. I know it's backwards on your screen. Never Binge Again by Glenn Livingston, PhD. So the title right there caught my attention. I was like, what? And then the fact that it's not a very thick book. Well, you're going to unravel all my complex self-sabotaging behavior and you're going to do it in 150 pages of big print. Whatever. I almost bought this daring him to fail. Let's just see what kind of crap you're selling. Do you ever do that? I do. I'm sick, I guess. So I bought this book, and the good news for you is if you endure this chat and it appeals to you, this is free online. If you go to neverbingeagain.com, Dr. Livingston has made this available to everybody because he feels it's so important. So you can download the ebook for free. Awesome. From there, he has lots of things for sale, of course. He's got other books that go with it. Maybe we'll talk about these if we have time. He's got coaching programs, all kinds of things. But to get in the door and get the basics you need to succeed, it's free. So awesome. I didn't know that till after I purchased it. But I'm old school. I like to highlight and I like to feel the pages. And I like hard copies. I mean, obviously. So yeah, that's the book that we're talking about today. So when you first hear about this, or if you read a synopsis, it can actually sound really harsh. It can sound like real tough love, and it can even sound a little twisted. I mean, when we get into this, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I think we're used to kind of babying ourselves and approaching ourselves with so much self-compassion and understanding that it almost paralyzes us, right? And his approach is completely different. It's a very tough love strategy. It's very no nonsense, and I think that's why it worked for me. So I'm interested to hear what you think. So type it in the chat or let me know later. He uses words like always and never, and he calls bad food pig slop, and it sounds, I mean, it's just counterintuitive in some ways. You're like, what did I sign myself up for? But to understand the power of this, we're going to try to break this down really simply. And to do that, we have to introduce you to what he calls the pig. Okay, so this is going to sound funny because you would never look in the mirror and call yourself a pig, right? And I've seen people that jump on, he has a Facebook support group, and they're all up in arms and offended, and how dare you, that's so shaming and derogatory, and I'm an emotional eater, that's not what I need, and that's not what he's saying. So let's meet the pig. So I was probably a young mother when I ran into the work of, I'm going to say it wrong, Eckhart Tolle, Oprah Book Club I used to follow, and he was the first one that made me realize that not every thought that comes in your head is true, or you necessarily. He taught to put a space in between a thought so you can decide if it serves you or not, and then dismiss it. And that was really powerful to me because that gives you permission to disregard all the negative self-talk and the defeating voices in your head and just throw them away. Like, those aren't me. And you only embrace and accept the ones that serve your higher self and your best interest. Okay? That was, it probably sounds basic, but it was really mind-blowing to me at the time. And it's been a powerful tool for me. So given that, it really resonated to me when Dr. Livingston, let's just say Glenn, it's a mouthful, when Glenn said that the voice in your head that tells you to binge and drive to McDonald's and tells you to eat the whole bag of chips, the voice in your head that gets you off plan or away from the goals that you set, that's not your best self, right? That's not your higher self. That's not the voice in the morning the next day that's going, what did you do? We were doing so well. You just undid everything we did. It's not that voice. It's something else, okay? It's a self-sabotaging voice. It's a voice that lives for gratification instantly, and it's a voice that doesn't care about your goals. It's a voice that just wants what it wants right now, and it will do and say what it needs to get it. He calls this voice the pig. That's the pig. And he separates that from you. And that's the powerful step for me, because we're so quick to shame and blame ourselves, right? But if you can separate all that negativity and personify it into a separate character, then you're not shaming and blaming yourself, and you're not deriding yourself. You're not bringing yourself down. It's something else. It's an obstacle. It's something for you to oppose and to argue with. And that made sense to me. So the pig still somehow offends people. I mean, and I love pigs. I work at Utah Natural Meat, and we have great pigs there, right? They're wonderful animals. If pig doesn't resonate, then he says pick something else. You can use the beast or the gremlin, or give it your ex-boyfriend's name, whatever you want to. I like to use the pig because it fits into this broader metaphor that we're going to get into, but you can rename it to whatever is powerful with you, whatever will stir up this loathing disgust, okay? So it's important to distinguish that the pig is not you. You are not the pig. It's you versus the pig, and that's a powerful nuance that makes this work. You're the one that cleans up the mess the pig makes. You're the one that feels the ramifications of the bad choices the pig made. You're the one that's tired of that and is going to shut it down, okay? So let's go over some definitions. So like we said, the pig is that voice that is counterintuitive to your goals, to the big picture of health that you have in your mind, to everything that you want. The pig is undermining you, and his voice sounds different all the time. So remember, the pig lives inside of you. The pig has access to all your thoughts and your logic, so it'll sound like you, and it'll even make sense. But if you realize that's not in alignment with my goals, you'll realize that's not you. That's the pig. So sometimes the pig could sound like, he could sound forceful, like you're gonna eat this, you want this right now, do it. And sometimes it will sound more convincing, like, oh, you know what, you might feel better if you eat this. And yeah, the voice can change, but it's still the pig. You look at the motive, and that's how you recognize who's speaking. Okay, pig slop. That's any food that is off your plan. So pig slop's different for everybody. For example, my husband is on a really restrictive therapeutic diet, so for him, pig slop would be a sweet potato. But for me, a sweet potato would be deeply nourishing and a really good food, right? So you see, the definitions change. There's not a book that will tell you what is good for you to eat and what's not. It depends on your situation and your definitions. So pig slop is any bite of food that is off your plan, okay? So Glenn likes to say, I don't eat from a trough, I eat from a plate. So if there's something put in front of him, he goes further to say that's pig slop and it's served in a trough. Just anything to mentally gross yourself out and be like, no, I don't want that. Okay, the pig squeal. The pig squeal is this voice the pig uses any argument he throws at you. I keep saying he. I'm sorry, maybe I'm sexist. You can change the genders. But it's anything he throws at you to manipulate you or persuade you to go off path. So like I said, it'll use your logic and your words, and it can change tone. Sometimes it'll be a soft, enticing squeal, and sometimes it'll be a shrieking squeal. And it can say things like, you deserve this, or, oh, it would be rude to pass on this, or for you to say never is crazy. That's not going to work. Just do this. Like, there's so many different ways that the pig can squeal at you. And as you become aware of them and start writing these things down, you'll get an ear for it. You'll get better at recognizing it. The premise of this is never binge again. Well, what's a binge? This was a definition that blew my mind also, because for me a binge is when I just eat way too much of crappy food. That's a binge. To Glenn, any single bite that's off your plan is a binge. See, even in my mind I'm just fine, but it was just a micro binge. I just had a bite of this. He's saying any bite. And like I said, this can sound harsh, but the reasoning behind it is powerful. You have to draw a line somewhere, right? Because the pig is so manipulative that if you're like, well, I can have one bite and I'm not binging, well, then have another one. Oh, that was really good. Have another one. Well, now you're halfway through. It won't hurt just to finish it off. Do you see how just give it an inch and it'll take a mile? So he's saying one bite, and you recognize that as a binge and you shut it down right there. So that's why we're defining it strictly. And we'll talk more about what happens when you binge in a minute. Okay, so I keep talking about going off plan or food that's on your plan. Where does this plan come from? Do you sign up for Dr. Livingston's course and he sends you a plan? I wish I would sign up for that. I'd actually be out of business because that would be so beautifully easy. But if you've listened to any of the chats I've done before or done any exploring on your own, you know there's not one diet for everybody. In fact, I did a video chat. Go back and look, and I'll link it in the notes. How to choose the diet that's right for you. There's too many factors, biological and psychological, behavioral factors that make you who you are, that makes food a personal thing, okay? So you can hire a coach like me, or have a therapist or a doctor or someone help you map out a diet, but even they won't be able to tell you exactly what works for you. A lot of it is intuitive or trial and error or your own research and what resonates with you, but just know the plan comes from you, not from somebody else, okay? So you have to do the work to figure out what that is, and it can start, you start where you are. Like, well, here's the foods I know sabotage my progress. I don't want to eat those. Here's the foods I do want to eat. And you start mapping out what your ideal diet is. And then you'll write rules that will support these things. So the beauty of this is it's scary, but it's empowering. It's scary because, you know, the buck stops here. If you fail at your diet, you can't blame Dr. Oz, or you can't blame Chef Boyardee, or you can't blame Kristin Whitaker if you hired her to write a plan for you, right? You can only blame yourself because you're the one that created the plan. It could have been based on all these other things, but it was, at the end of the day, your plan. And that's scary. But on the other side, you're more likely to stick to it because it's customized just for you. It takes into account your triggers and your temptations and what makes you feel good, okay? I just got an intolerance test back from somebody who showed up highly intolerant to kale, and here she'd been told to eat more kale her whole life, and she kept insisting she didn't like it. It didn't make her feel good, and rather, you know, than just saying, I'm not eating that. Well, we keep trying to eat it because someone told us to, and it took a scientific validation for her to say, see, I told you I'm not eating kale anymore. We should just be able to dictate our diet according to our own experience, and that's legitimate, right? So the other thing is, if you do fail, if you downloaded this beautiful diet plan from me and you didn't get the results you wanted, or it was hard to stick to, you would throw it all out. You'd be like, Kristin's full of crap. And you would throw the whole plan out. But if you wrote that plan, you'd be like, okay, this part isn't working for me. This does, and I love this, but this part needs to be tweaked. You would go back and you would fix it, and you would make it work for you, right? Instead of just throwing the whole thing out. So having ownership and accountability, having this come down to you, is so much more success promoting, okay? So empowering. Scary, yes, but ultimately empowering. So the plan comes from you. What does a plan look like? Well, it's made up of rules. So there's 4 categories of rules that Glenn establishes. But it really comes down to these 4 things. There's always rules, never rules, conditional rules, and unrestricted rules. So always, never, conditional, unrestricted. So let's go over each of those. Always. Always is for positive behaviors that you want to be part of your life. So one of mine I've talked about before is I always drink a full glass of Soleil water in the morning. I always do it. So any morning I didn't do that, I would be off plan. Okay? The pig one. These rules can look like anything. You can say, I always eat more vegetables than meat on my plate, or I always take my enzymes with my dinner. That's one of my daughter's rules, okay? If she doesn't, she gets sick, so she's made that rule for herself. So whatever your rules are, things that you want to do every day, all the time, write your always rules. They're more successful if they're attached to something. For example, I drink Soleil first thing in the morning, right when I wake up. Or the enzymes are triggered, that action is triggered by dinner coming and being served. Oh, time to get my enzymes. Does that make sense? Okay, so those are your always rules. Never. Now that's a scary word, never, right? Already the pig in your head is going, never is not realistic. You can't use that word. That's pig squeal because it's not serving you, right? Never. I'm going to remember, these look different for everybody. One of mine is I never drink Dr. Pepper. Even saying that out loud, the squeal is like in my ears because Dr. Pepper is like the soda love of my life. I used to just live for that 44 ounce from Sonic. And even when I think about it now, it makes me happy and I pine for it because I love it. But for me, it's a trigger and it starts a cycle of binge eating, because if I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper, then what more can I do to myself? I might as well have whatever I want. I found if I drink a Dr. Pepper, I'm in a bad place. I'm not feeling good about myself and I'm going there for solace. And I need to find it somewhere else because that always just sinks me deeper in my hole. So for me, Dr. Pepper is a never. Other rules can be regarding portion size, like maybe you never have seconds at a buffet. Maybe you never finish the plate at a restaurant. Maybe there's a category like I never eat at Little Caesars. If you think about it, there's nothing in that restaurant that fits into my diet, so I'm just going to wipe that whole chain off the map. Okay, so nevers are hard and they take a lot of commitment, but they can be done, and it's a powerful tool for the foods that trip you up the most. The ones that cause more carnage than they do pleasure, those should be on your never list. Okay, let's go to conditionals. So there are foods that you can control and have in a certain amount even if they aren't the best for you, or they're a deep part of your culture or the way you celebrate, and for some reason you're not ready to give them up entirely, and that's totally fair. They go in the conditional category. So you might say, I only eat popcorn when I'm in a movie theater. Well, if you only see a movie once a month, maybe that's not so bad, right? Maybe that's a good rule for you. One of mine is I never eat white flour unless it's a French pastry made from scratch. I'm sorry, I'm not walking past a Queen Amman or a cronut that was, if I ever get to travel and I get to go to Dominic Ansell's pastry shop, I'm eating everything. That's already written into my rules. But other than that, I don't eat white flour. It makes me sick, and I know that. It also makes me really moody. So for my husband's well-being, I'm putting that on my conditional list. I never eat that unless this rare instance pops up. Maybe I never eat milk chocolate unless it's Christmas or my birthday or Valentine's. So you make exceptions for celebrations. Maybe I never eat pizza again unless it's made from scratch, or I'm on vacation. So look at the foods that you use in a way other than food, like they're part of a celebration for you. They're part of a ritual that you have. And write those in so that you can have those guilt-free, but they're limited, okay? So you're not eating them when you don't need them. If that makes sense, okay? So that's conditional. A note on conditional, if it's getting super complicated, well, I never eat this unless this and this and this and this, with this and this, with this, with the full moon, with this person, with this and that. Maybe it needs to be on the never list. Okay, unconditional or unrestricted, excuse me. These are things that have no restrictions at all, no guidelines. You can eat freely. So I can have all the leafy greens that I want. I can drink as much water as I want in a day. One of mine, I can actually have all the chocolate I want if it's 85% or darker. They'll look different for you. So some people take chocolate off the list entirely because they just can't control themselves, and they know that. The pig wins every time, so they had to take it off the list. I can do a high quality dark chocolate because it's self-limiting to me. You can only eat so much, and it makes me happy, so I still eat it. Okay, so you'll put a lot of work and a lot of time into writing these rules, okay? And you might not get it right the first time. You can go back and change it and add or subtract, and that's the beauty of this plan. But what do you do if you have binged? So what happens if you had one bite of pig slop, or you went off plan, you indulged? So as harsh as this sounds, it's okay, see, because it wasn't you that failed. The pig tricked you. He fooled you for a moment. He got you for a moment, but you realized it, and as soon as you did, that's a win for you because you're able to limit it and stop right now. So we talked in last week when we were talking about tools that don't work. Start again Monday, or the what the hell factor. I've already messed up. We'll just keep going and start again Monday. That is out the window with this strategy. As soon as you realize the pig squealed and you binged, you shut it down right then. And maybe you think about it. Maybe you're curious, why did I do that? Think about it for a minute. But there's no shame. You don't deride yourself or beat yourself up. That's also the pig. The pig, remember, is a voice that doesn't serve your higher self. He will deride you and make you feel like crap, which will also make you more likely to binge some more, right? So even that's in his, one day he's telling you, you deserve this, you're amazing, you deserve this, and the next he's like, you are such a failure, you might as well just eat all this. See how it changes? But that voice that says you've already messed up, keep going, that's the pig's voice trying to get more pig slap out of you, trying to get the control back. So shut it down and like, okay, I'm starting over now. Starting now, I never eat this again. It's okay. It's okay. As soon as you start it over, you have a perfect record again. And you're back in the seat. You have the power. So isn't that beautiful? It's so simple, it's crazy, but it works. What about willpower is a question I hear, especially with this never thing. Like, how can I never? Willpower inevitably runs out. We only have so much willpower. It's like a muscle and it fatigues and I'll give in. Well, if you write all these rules down, you've already exerted your willpower. You don't have to fight yourself over every little decision anymore. It's already made, and that eliminates the fatigue. For example, think of people that, that don't eat meat. Let's go for vegetarians. Do they look at every burger patty or steak and like, am I going to eat it? Am I going to not? No, they've already decided, I'm not the kind of person that eats meat. I'm not going to have that. It's done already. It's a blanket decision and it covers all those things. Or like, I don't drink coffee. So it's never anything that I struggle with, because even when it smells good and it looks good, you know, I'm not a coffee person. So that's not something that I struggle with. So that can be different for everybody. But the willpower isn't an issue so much, and it only gets easier. One more comment about willpower is Dr. Livingston makes a huge point of telling us that it's okay to be uncomfortable. A lot of the plans that we go on are designed, like, eat what you want and still lose 30 pounds, or drop 3 pant sizes in 10 minutes a day. They're designed to make you comfortable and to mitigate the discomfort. But he's saying it's okay. So if you're gonna go off Diet Coke, for an example, expect caffeine withdrawals. And when the pig says, oh, you have a headache, this is horrible, you'll be like, I do have a headache. That's okay though. I will get through this headache and then I'll be better. Do you see? It's okay if a little discomfort comes, because you know in the long run you're going to be better. So when the pig starts screaming at you that you just really need this to get through the day, or you're a little shaky, you need this, or whatever it is, you have the power to say, that's okay. Yeah, this does kind of suck right now, but I can handle that. I'm more important. I'm worth that effort. See? So that's pretty cool. What if your rules change? What if you find out this one was too hard? Or let's say you have a conditional rule for chocolate. You can only eat chocolate on your birthday, or you can only eat, well, my birthday is right before the holidays stretch starts. Yeah, I feel like there's my birthday, and then there's Halloween, and then there's Thanksgiving, and then there's Christmas into New Year's, and if I cave on my birthday, I'm going to eat that whole time. So maybe I better take that from a conditional to a never. I'm going to try it as a never. Okay, we're going to do that. By the way, I'm not, that's just an example. So you can still bring me chocolate to the store, and yeah, bless you for that. So maybe a conditional needs to get moved to a never, or maybe a never doesn't tempt you anymore. So you don't need that never anymore. It's okay for you to try or experiment. Yeah, remember who wrote this plan? You did. So you have the power, so it's okay. There's also with education, change can happen. So I used to only drink skim or 1% milk. That's just what I bought, because I thought the whole fat milk was bad. But with education, now I know how harmful skim and 1% milk is. I know how processed and adulterated and gross it is. And I know what it does in my body. So now I only drink raw milk from grass-fed cows, from Utah Natural Meat, where I work. So if I'm away from home and the milk served as something else, I don't drink that. So that's a rule of mine that changed. I went complete 180 from drinking a skim processed gross milk to this rich live food from Utah Natural Meat that's clean and nourishing. So yeah, with education you can change. Or maybe a quick note about therapeutic diets. So if you're writing your own plan, this works great if you're just trying to get your health improved and slim down a little bit and be your best self. But if you're finding time and time again that you have these health struggles that aren't going away, you're having inflammation and pain, allergies, gut upset, headaches, all these, any number of symptoms, and they're not going away despite your best efforts, you might actually need medical attention and a therapeutic diet. That would be like GAPS or AIP, an elimination diet, a gluten-free diet, things like that that may or may not be temporary. And if that happens, then many of your rules are going to be dictated by this diet, okay? It's just how it is, but it's important to know that you chose to be on this journey. So I'm coaching someone on the autoimmune protocol right now. That's a hard diet. The first 90 days, there's a strict elimination with no corn, soy, gluten, dairy. It's hard. Nightshades, I mean, I tell everyone this is a hard diet, but it's necessary because of the symptoms that you're having, and the payoffs will be huge. And so let's get through this so that we can have this reward at the end and then build from there. So it might be completely restrictive at this point, but you can look forward to writing your plan later. Now that you've had the experience of this, it'll reset your cravings, it'll reset your immune response, it'll reset your health basically, and you'll be able to start with a plan that comes from you. And it'll be real and authentic, and it'll be your best self, okay? But you might have to suspend that a little bit while we're getting you there. I hope that makes sense. I have a lot of compassion for people that have to do these therapeutic diets because it does take a lot of your choice away. And you can always choose to go off and be sick. I mean, let's be real. You can choose to have this and flare up in hives, or choose to eat this and have IBS, or whatever it is that you're struggling with. You can make that choice, but let's be real. If you want to be healthy, a lot of your choices disappear on a therapeutic diet, but it's temporary, and you're choosing to claim your health back. And you're choosing to be the best person you can be and to live longer and to thrive, right? That's where your choice comes in. So you have the power in this. And the pig will squeal and tell you, you can't do this, or this isn't going to work, or it's taking too long. You still have the power to cage that pig and shut it down and do what you have to do to get to the next level. So just a note for there. One of the biggest pig squeals I deal with all the time is the fear of missing out. Food FOMO, I guess you could call it, right? You see the people around you eating and celebrating. It's such a part of our culture, and you just don't want to miss out. But I'm learning more and more you can celebrate with people and take part in that without compromising your plan. Okay, you'll find ways to recommit and to think, yeah, no, I'm still here with my friends, but I don't need the soda because it makes me feel gross. I don't need that. So when the pig makes you feel like you are missing out, focus on what you're gaining. You're going to miss out on your goals. You're going to miss out on your dreams if you partake, okay? So whatever the pig is telling you, if he's telling you you're missing out, recognize that's not serving you the best. What are you missing out on? You're missing out on all these symptoms that are uncomfortable and damaging. You're missing out on the regret that comes later. So yeah, don't fall for the pig squeal anymore. Just don't do it. I'm checking. I don't see any questions in right now, but you're certainly welcome to reach out later. I will post this. This will get reposted on my YouTube channel, Utah Natural Wellness, which, by the way, I have a thing with my teenage son going right now. He wants to see how fast I can get to 1,000 likes. And so subscribe to my YouTube channel just so I can show my son I can do it. Utah Natural Wellness. Then this will be reposted on my blog, which is at nourishwithkristin.com, and there you can find a bank of all past videos, including the how to pick a diet that's right for you that we talked about in this video, and the how to set health goals that last from last week. Those will be there. So check me out there. You can come visit me at the store at Utah Natural Meat in West Jordan, and I'll help you pick out foods that will that you will love and the pig will hate, right? Because they will serve your goals and they'll taste good. Maybe you'll both be happy. So come into the farm and talk to me in person, or you can also find me in my Facebook group where you might be watching this live right now, and that is Utah Natural Wellness. So as I get set up and going, I'm trying to get better at the social media stuff, but I sure love hearing from you, and I love your questions and comments, and I love when we can laugh together. So let me know how this is going. And remember, again, this book Never Binge Again is by Dr. Glenn Livingston, and you can get it for free on his webpage. I'll also link some of his other books that I've gone. As simple as this is, there's still a lot of nuances to writing effective rules that work or to avoiding traps that the pig uses. So I have 45 binge trigger busters, and that's arguing and shutting the pig down. I have 101 best food rules. He's polled his very large community to find out what works for them, and it might give you ideas to get the ball rolling in your own head. So I'll link all that stuff, and I'd love to hear your experience. So thanks for joining me this week, and I'll be back. I'm going to switch to a bi-weekly schedule because I'm back in school again. It never ends. You never know everything. So I'll be back in 2 weeks with another topic. Let me know if you have an idea or a question I can tackle for you. Thanks again, and we'll see you later.